pace is dropped on SDH for Thursday thoughts after what happened last night in Columbus. John here, Jared there, you there, and busy show. Hour number one, we'll just talk about Atlanta United as much as you guys want, and Columbus Crew. Apologies for 906, by the way, because something happened in the Brasileiro last night that I had to pull in. So that'll be opening kickoff coming up in short order. Morning, Alex. Hour number two, Kaylor Hodges from the USL Show will join us, and we are down to the Final Four in Championship. We have the Dogwood Derby in USL League One. For those of you who missed it, we have conversations with Doug Irwin in Greenville and Sean McDaniel in Chattanooga as we kind of work our way through the Southeast and all the teams when their seasons end. We do postmortems. We caught up with Doug and Sean. Those are on the network. 10:30 as always, 10:30, 10:35, last half hour of the show. It's going to be Niko Moreno. Thursdays with Niko. Jarrett, do you want to start with a rant for the ages, or do you want to just go ahead and start talking about Atlanta United and Columbus?
Let's just start with Atlanta. That's what people are here for. We can go about the Brasileiro in a bit.
All right, so 30,000 feet. You knew that the lineup was going to be different. You ended up with 5 at the back. And you figured it was going to be somewhat more defensive and looking for your opportunities, but it ends up being 2-0, 1 on a turnover and Cucho going short side in transition in the first half, right at the end of the first half. And then you end up with a penalty. And it was soft. We'll go ahead and say it. And I know that we'll get into the Lucas.
It's legit, though. That's the thing. Like, it's stomping on the guy. This is the thing, though, like, because I know it was soft. It is one of those where you could say he might have been looking for it. Well, he found it, but there was contact. It wasn't like he flopped with no contact.
Right.
It's a penalty.
Yeah.
Were there some questionable calls last night? Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
But guess what? Cincinnati, Jesus. Columbus did the thing that we talk about in the playoffs. The most important number is the big 0 next to the other team's name.
Yep.
And Columbus did that. They held Atlanta to 1 shot.
Yeah.
They did their job.
Yeah.
Very well. And Atlanta did not. What's funny to me about all of it is the dude who seemed the most up for it overall was the guy you put in not the same spot as Thiago Almada, but when you take his name out of the lineup sheet, you put Jay Fortunes in there. That kid was up for it.
He was.
Jay was up for it. And,
yeah.
I'm happy for him that he got that opportunity. He wasn't perfect, but Jesus, nobody was. Mm-hmm. The good news is with this weird ass format is none of that matters.
Yeah.
Because what we talked about before the playoffs. This game was going to be tough and weird anyway because it was in Columbus. They're very good. You were going to have to go there and try and find something. I think the second half would have been very interesting if you would have gotten to 45 minutes tied at 0.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't because you have the turnover, then you get hit the other way.
Yep.
I'm not as angry at Brad Guzan as everybody else is, just because, like, yes, it's short side on that finish, but
that's a hell of a finish.
It's a hell of a finish. It's laces through the ball at Mach 2 into the roof of the net. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to, like, if he had, like, beaten you short side with a ball on the ground, that's much more damning than when somebody goes with high degree of difficulty and tries to take your ear off.
Yes.
It's just tough to get a handle on. He kind of got hung out to dry, and at the same time, like, Ronald Hernandez did the right thing, which is push him out.
Right.
He didn't let him get inside to the middle of the goal. He pushed him to the outside, but you got beat by a great finish. Now, all of it comes down to the fact that you can't give the ball, like, Caleb Wiley can't have that turnover where he has it.
Right.
And what just is just backbreaking like Batman over the knee of Bane about all of it is you almost made it to 45. You knew Muyamba was going to come off.
Yep.
45 minutes after that, you see what you can find instead. Yeah, I mean, that was not even like letting air out of the balloon so much as someone took a knife to the balloon and just popped the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
And you didn't do enough offensively. I thought at times you were trying to pick your spots offensively.
And that's what I figured that you were going to do. You were going to have to pick your spot.
You were, but like, okay, so we'd see this in basketball all the time where teams work the ball around, and a lot of times they'll work the ball around the perimeter, work the ball in and out. And what you're getting a good look, and you're moving the ball to try and get a better look.
Yeah.
To try and get a cleaner, wide ass open look. And I think at times like last night, you can't do that. You can, when you get a look, you need to go for it. Because you have the ball from Muyamba into Yorgos. And it's kind of like, it kind of reminded me of the Surge one from the other night when Sam Surge had a nightmare for Nashville.
Yeah.
And no, not the finish where you skied the ball in front of the net with the back of his heel.
Right.
But they played him in a very similar spot, and he tried to high degree of difficulty back heel back into the middle of the box to somebody. He gets deflected out for a corner that gets cleared. When you're on that angle like that, take a touch and see if you can get something off.
Yeah.
See if you can make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't have support with him. I'd love for them to have that shot again, have that ball again from Muyamba to see if he can force his way in to get a shot on goal. Because, yeah, you want to create these big chances, these great chances. But in a game like that, when you get a look, when you get a half open look, you got to do something with it.
Yeah, I mean,
the only shot on goal is because Jay had a half open look and pulled the trigger.
Yeah,
and put it on frame. But you got to do that. You've got to try and put it on frame. You've got to pull the trigger, because otherwise, what are you doing?
Yeah, no. Early on, I think to your point, there was the opportunity that happened, the first opportunity in the match for Atlanta, where Yorgos is going one-on-one with Camacho, and Camacho had a great game last night at the back for Columbus. And the ball is just a fraction late getting to Gigi. Camacho gets there, and he sends it out for a corner, and then in the backwash, Camacho hits Gigi in the face with his knee. But it's those kinds of opportunities. You mentioned that one in the 32nd. You had the one a couple of minutes earlier with Gigi and Wiley with the cross that Schulte was able to grab, but that one that you're talking about in the 32nd, where you end up with Shande and Lennon getting close with Muyamba to Gigi there, and it was a couple of instances and moments, and because of it only being a few, you had to take advantage and be clinical in those situations.
Yeah, you had to be, and you weren't. And then you had those two moments from Ronald Hernandez.
Yeah.
Where, he gets beat by Cucho, which, get in line, Cucho's beating a lot of people.
Yeah. And
my favorite thing last night was somebody was like, man, I would love to have someone like Cucho. I'm like, you did.
Yeah.
You had Joseph before Nashville's grass took him away. By the way, I don't know if people noticed this in the last week's Falcons game. Someone brought it up. You realize that Nissan Stadium has turf now?
Yeah.
You know why?
Because they did analysis.
They did analysis and found an obscene number of injuries on Nashville's grass because it was absolute garbage, which every Atlanta United fan can attest to. The grass at Nissan Stadium was very, very bad. It was leading to a lot of injuries and was kind of on the other end of that spectrum of grass versus turf of like, well, is bad grass better than good turf? Nashville it wasn't. But you had that because Cucho is that destabilizer for equality on teams where like these teams are evenly matched, but that team has Cucho in the same sense that we used to say like, oh, this team's are evenly matched, but that team has a Joseph.
Yes.
But yeah, Ronald Hernandez gets beat. Then you have the penalty where like Ronald Hernandez, I think, has to be more aggressive getting to that ball from Shade. He's not. He needs to be more aggressive getting to it. And then, yeah, you get this off penalty, but it's still a penalty.
Yeah.
And you would want it called your way 100 times out of 100. And otherwise, like, you gave up shots. Brad made a couple good saves. For all of the shots they put on frame, a lot of them weren't. It wasn't like they were breathing down your neck, putting up 3 xG on you. But they also didn't need to. They were comfortable in their game state as the game went on. But man, it's just I don't know, dude. It's a disappointing performance because you when you got those half chances, you needed to put them away. You weren't in a position, in my opinion, playing in Columbus, to try and look for a better opportunity. It wasn't, well, this is a half decent look. I'll bet I can find a better one. No, you need to take it.
Yeah.
You need to take advantage of that opportunity. And you needed big performances, and you didn't get them all. And like, Ron Hernandez wasn't a bomb scare for 90 minutes, but he made 2 critical errors.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs, that's what matters, is those critical errors, those critical moments, because that is what separates it. And sucks that it happened. God knows that with Ronald Hernandez, it kind of changes with the day, because he's put in some really good performances for this club in the past. It just depends. Like, the reaction to him always just depends on what that immediate performance is. But yeah, it wasn't good enough, and I don't know if you would have gone with Parata, because I think you wanted Hernandez's pace.
Yeah, and you
wanted his ability to play with the ball at his feet.
Right, and that, to me,
that ain't Parata's game necessarily. I'm assuming that's part of why you did what you did.
Yeah, and that's, for me, I was looking specifically at the amount of pace, the amount of mileage that you were going to be putting in coming back to defend, because in transition opportunities, Hernandez's speed is there more than Purata's. So that's what I was looking at with Ronald versus Purata in the back and forth that you were going to experience in this match. Purata is more stay at home, who will take his opportunities offensively and surge through when it's there. But in a game state that is going to require a lot of back and forth, Hernandez's speed and recovery is why I was looking at Ronald Hernandez as a part of this.
Yeah, and Hutch talks about Hernandez being too far up the field, forcing Lennon to cover for him. Yeah, I mean, it got a little out of pocket at times, and it wasn't perfect at all. Like I said, it's as disappointing as it is. You have to compartmentalize it now, because in 6 days you play for your season. Mm-hmm. And this is what we talked about in the past, was we knew that first game was going to be weird. You didn't love your chances. You have to win at home now. And I haven't checked the numbers, y'all, to see when the last time Columbus lost in the Benz. 18 for sure. They might have lost. I don't remember what 19 was.
August 19th of 2018, Atlanta won 3-1.
Okay. But you've got to win your home game, and then if you do that, then you go back for a winner takes all one-off.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it was always going to play out.
Yeah.
And that's what you're dealing with now. So now you nut up and you get ready for Tuesday's game. Mm-hmm. And you show something, or you get a nice comfy seat on the couch.
Yep. And so you'll have Thiago back, obviously, and you'll have Thiago back on the surface at Mercedes-Benz in a position that plays, Jared. I think, obviously, you construct a team for a reason to play at Mercedes-Benz, and so you're going to have Thiago back, and that'll be your centerpiece for the discussion going forward about Game 2 in this series.
Yeah, you have to make Game 1 to be that happened.
Yeah.
But now you move on to Game 2. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming you go back to what you had with a 4-man back of Abram and Miles.
Yeah.
And you push Lennon back, into that right back role. Mm-hmm. Wiley, is what it is.
Yeah.
And then the question, one of the questions I will have, though, and this might be a question for the off season, is where are you going to find more minutes for Jay Fortune? Because you're going to find more minutes for Jay Fortune.
Correct.
Because the 20-year-old kid, like I said, he wasn't perfect last night. That was his first playoff game, and kid wanted all that smoke. He was not afraid of it, and I appreciate that about him. That on a bad night, you had a dude out there who was ready to go and who was not afraid of it. But if that's the point right there, is if you're looking for something positive to take out of it, you got another homegrown who was up for a challenge last night. And otherwise, I guess you're looking for to see what you can do with I guess you're looking to see what you do with the starting lineup next time versus guys off the bench. Be it Saba, Saba coming. If you could have thrown Saba into that game in the 46th minute, in a tied game, it feels different as opposed to, bringing Saba into the game down a goal and chasing. If you could have just gotten the damn thing to halftime at 0-0. You bring him on in the second half and you see what happens. And then you bring on Mosquera, because God loves Xande Silva, but he wasn't on it last night, man. It wasn't a thing. And he's had a couple games where it just hasn't been clicking correctly. You bring on Mosquera, you bring on Saba, you try and make something happen there. But you can't get your back broken like that right before halftime. You can't have the giveaway. You can't have those stupid-ass turnovers in the middle of the field, which we talk about all the time. And God bless Frank de Boer for talking about it in such simple terms in the past as, hey, man, here's the goal in life. You get those – if you're a possession team like that and you want that possession to end in a goal, a foul, or a ball out of play and a stoppage of play so you can reset. So you don't have those open field opportunities where you get countered. Where you get, do what you got to do, but you can't have those open field turnovers like that. Try and do too damn much in the moment. Yeah, you can't. It has to end with a ball going out. It has to end with a stoppage, and then when you commit that foul, to stand over the ball and not let them take it quickly. That's what you have to do, and that's what you at times in the second half of the season have been so successful about with other teams, is turning them over. Getting them going and going the other way, or using possession to create those situations like, go back to the Portland game. I know Portland is not the ideal team that people like to point to because Portland has not been good this year, but where you can use, big switches and overloads to create like these almost synthetic play on the break moments where you can overload a team and then you can like flip play around, move guys around, and then all of a sudden you're creating like an artificial break, an artificial play on the play, play with your hair on fire kind of break.
Right.
You can generate those in possession sometimes. You just got to get teams up the field. It's one of the reasons you play with the ball in the back at times, is to pull teams out to create space to do that kind of stuff. Columbus is going to be tough to do it against, but Atlanta's going to have to do it at home because Columbus is going to go for the kill, and God love Wilfred Nancy for it because he's not afraid.
No.
And I respect the fact that if he goes out of these playoffs, he will go out. He will either come back with his shield or he will come back on it. But if you're Atlanta, you put all of what happened last night into a box and you put it in the back of your head because no one's going to feel sorry for you, least of all Columbus, and you have to absolutely go find a way to win at home, which you've been good at this year. Columbus has kind of been your bugaboo. It's weird that they haven't beaten Columbus since 2019 or 2018 at home, because it's not like Wilfred Nancy's been there the whole time. Right. Like Caleb Porter's teams were very depressing to watch, but like you had the one last year where like they scored in like the first minute, and then Columbus just basically refused to play for the rest of the game. Because that was also the game that like Joe Dickerson did a horrendous job of managing the game, and then after the game, he and Thiago Almada got into it, and Thiago got suspended for bumping into Dickerson. Yeah. When like after the game, instead of walking off the field, Dickerson just kind of hung around, and then Thiago got into it with him. And man, yeah. So it's not like it's been a Wilfred Nancy just burning the house down
Yeah.
all these times. It's like it's one of those weird things, which is funny because for the first few years, I think even into 18, it might have been like going up into 19. Atlanta was winning in Columbus. Atlanta beat Columbus in Columbus in 17 and 18 because 18 was the year when Joseph smashed his facing. He scored a header in 2018 in Columbus, and he smashed his nose on somebody, and like I think he broke his nose. He had to wear the face mask for a bit, and he hated it. And I remember throwing it away off the side of the field. Um, so it's been a very weird series between these teams because they've both gone on these stretches where like, hey, we're just not gonna lose in the other team's house, and now it's very much tilted in Columbus's favor.
Yeah. To your point, Atlanta won in June of 2017, and then they won 2 weeks later, 3-1 and 2-0 in 2017. Then Atlanta wins in Columbus June 13th of 2018. Then they win in Columbus. Then they win at home August 19, 2018. And since then, Columbus has gotten all of the they got all the wins in 20 and 21. Then Atlanta won in Columbus in August of 21 and 3-2. More Columbus, more draws, and then you get into this season. So that's where we are. Numbers on Jay Fortune last night. 88 minutes, 70 touches, 45 of 53 passing, 85%. He had one long ball. He had the one shot, 7 of 12 on his ground duels, and he was fouled 3 times, had a pick, 4 tackles, and 1 dribble passed, and a 6.7, according to our friends at SofaScore. So that was Jay Fortune last night in 88 minutes. Not afraid of his surroundings.
No, he wasn't afraid of it. That's good. That's you at that point. You're digging through. You're digging through the dirt and you're finding what you can good to take out of it. And Jay Fortune's one of those good things you can take out of it. That's about it. Nobody got hurt.
Yes.
William Bod didn't get sent off, which was that whole sequence was weird because I didn't think the first one was a yellow card worthy tackle.
And if it was persistent infringement, how is either 0 or 1 persistent infringement?
It was also Aiden Morris spent a lot of time on the ground last night.
He did.
But it was very weird. So because like he gets that yellow, and then after that, like the one where he comes in with the boot on the ball, I think he got all ball.
I think so too.
I forget who it was for Columbus, just like went twisting on the ground. And then like you had the mass confrontation around the official. And it kind of felt like the ref gave him that first yellow and then decided like it's not an orange card. And then he kind of gave him a little bit of leeway as if it almost felt like as if to say, I almost felt like he kind of regretted giving him that yellow. I don't know if that makes sense. Almost like he regretted giving him the yellow.
Yeah.
And then this decided like, you know what, I'm going to give you a little more runway than I usually would for somebody on a yellow. And then Tristan decided to push it up against the line. I had no idea how he stayed on the field. The only thing I can think is that the ref decided, hey, that yellow was a little bit fast, so I'm going to give you a little more runway.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's the only thing I can figure. But then you also had moments where, and this was off camera, and so I had to rely on Mike and Jason, where apparently Lucas Zapala got a finger in the face of Brooks Lennon at a moment.
Yeah, I missed that. I don't know.
And literally there was a foul call, and Brooks wanted an explanation. And Zapala gets in his face and gives him a finger in the face.
And it's okay. He wasn't great at managing the game. That certainly didn't impact the scoreline. So, I mean, he needs to be better at managing games. Okay, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it doesn't impact the score. It doesn't impact the way that Atlanta played. It doesn't impact the fact that, maybe it impacts that Tristan comes off at halftime. Some of that's on Tristan because he rode that line as far as you can. He got right up to the edge of that cliff right before halftime. And some of that's on him. But that doesn't change the fact that Atlanta was trying to be, I think, at times too perfect with the ball, and then in the second half, just apprehensive with the ball. That's something they've got to clean up. That's a them problem.
So that's and like I said, I looked at what, and I'll look at it this way. I will give the other perspective here. So Muyumba gets a yellow, and Hutch, I agree. I mean, you had to pull Muyumba.
Yeah, man. Like if you would have left him out there, it would have been malpractice.
Yeah,
because then you would have gone into game 2 without him.
Right.
That would have been malpractice to leave him on the field.
Yeah.
So I mean, give him credit for taking him off, but if he hadn't taken him off, we would have all lost our minds.
Yes. When you look at the early yellow and like I said, Opta referred to it as persistent infringement. So 25 minutes in, Muyumba gets a yellow or the first foul for the match. Persistent infringement according to Opta. I don't know if that changed. Then what that does is it changes how Muyumba gets looked at for the remainder of the first 45, because obviously, we can't sit there and say, well, if in the second half, but no. So I would posit that giving him the early yellow, and then you mentioned the fact that he probably got a bit of a longer leash on the backside of that because maybe Zappala gave a yellow too early from his own personal perspective, and so he gave Muyumba a little bit more of a leash. I think that the yellow causes Tristan not to play the way that he normally does. And with that normal rate of speed and processing all of the information and being that guy around that helps out with the relationships in the middle of the park. So I think that early yellow causes Atlanta United to have to think differently and sub him out at 45. And you would have liked to have had him in that second 45. But because of the early yellow and having to look at how Zappala's calling this match, you have to pull him because you mentioned, it is malpractice. And if you leave him in, but you've got to think about this in a 3-game envelope. You have to look at this. It's like, I need Muyumba for game 2 and I need him for game 3. If he gets a second yellow, then I don't have him. So obviously, you had to pull Muyumba at 45 just so you could have him for game 2. And so you could have him at Mercedes-Benz. But no, I would posit, Zappala was just as wound up as a lot of other folks down there on the pitch, getting in people's faces and all of that kind of stuff. Because I think this was his first. I think this was his first, if I remember correctly, it was either his first or his second center F assignment in the postseason.
Yeah, and it's exciting for him. He'll learn from it. I'm not overly worried. I'm not overly worried about him. But yeah, you can't worry about it now. Because now you have to like I said, you have to put it in a box in the back of your head, and you have to go and deal with. You have to go deal with Tuesday, and then whatever happens, then you get ready for game 3, or you start looking at your off season. And I know the questions about off season will come fast and furious as well. I have no idea about off season. Like Almada might get sold. We don't know, man. I thought Almada wouldn't make it through the summer here, but he did.
I didn't think so either.
And and I guess somebody mentioned it. Like if he leaves, you got to replace him with DP. Oh yeah, yeah.
And they have.
It's not like Atlanta's ever been shy about money.
No,
they will go find someone to fit what they want to do.
Yeah,
but,
and trust me, and I think it was Hutch who brought it up. You will have been looking for individuals to take over that position, and I'm not going to use the hashtag, Almada replacement or anything like that. But the next individual,
it's hard to replace Almada. It's kind of
right.
Yeah, man. Almada's a special kid.
Yeah, and so
who occasionally loses his mind.
Yeah, so you're going to be looking for that next individual to be in that position. You're not going to be looking for the hashtag Almada replacement because Thiago is a unicorn on a bunch of different levels. You're going to be looking for that next young, exciting U22 playmaker who can create a lot of magic. And will look at what Atlanta United has done in bringing in talent and moving them on. All you got to do is sit there when you go to whatever market you're going into, whether it's Europe or South America, Central or South America. All you have to do is literally when you walk into a young man's office with the club that he's currently with, you have 2 8x10 color glossy photographs. One is of Miguel Almiron wearing a Newcastle jersey, and the other is Thiago Almada hoisting the World Cup trophy, sitting next to Lionel Messi wearing an Argentina jersey. That's all you got to do. You wander into that office, you hold up those 2 photographs, you sit there and say, this can be you by coming to Atlanta United. I don't think you're looking at how you want to present things. You're building your own resume in Major League Soccer that not a lot of other teams have been able to build. And I think that when you have that kind of cash that you're building up, folks will listen now. And it's like, oh, Atlanta United, who are you? But now that you have these examples,
I feel like I certainly hope that they would listen before now, though, considering you sold Miguel Almiron for $27 million.
Yeah, and you're going to be selling, whenever that moment comes, is that you will be selling Thiago for more than that. You're looking at 35 or 40 probably, or 30 plus some add-ons and percentages and things like that. So, no, I think that Atlanta United has been building this resume, being able to walk into offices worldwide and sit there and go, photo 1, photo 2. You get to be photo 3. You leave that spot in the middle of the table open. You put Miggy on one end. You put Thiago on the other end. You leave that space in the middle open for presentation. That can be you.
Yeah, and we'll see we'll see. And we'll see how they fill that spot when the time comes, because it might not happen in the winter window. But we'll see how they fill it, because you notice they've changed their profile a bit. They're not going to necessarily chase like a 20-year-old Wunderkind. Mm-hmm. We'll see what they do. That's a question for the future. Same thing with Osetu, because Jay Fortune's going to demand some of those minutes going into next year, and multiple coaching staffs now have come through and been big fans of Jay Fortune. And part of playing your kids is you give them opportunities, and they might make mistakes, but you give them those opportunities so that you can find out when they get through those mistakes if there's something really special underneath all that.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Hutch is looking for Katie to come in at the age of 32.
For who?
For Kevin De Bruyne to come in once Thiago goes.
If he can stay healthy, sure.
You bring in Katie.
That's been I think that was part of the conversation at City, was like,
yeah, it is.
With it, that like he might not get another contract because he can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
Which, we've talked about it with Emerson Hyndman. That it's hard to make a roster when you're on the training table.
Mm-hmm.
Just is.
Mm-hmm.
But, and we'll cross that bridge when we get through Tuesday. This format I'm still trying to piece together in my brain this format, because part of it apparently was like, okay, so part of the formatting was like, Apple wanted more games.
Yeah.
So let's say all of these go 3 games.
Sure.
I don't think that's going to be the case at all.
I would agree.
Let's go look. I want to do the quick maths here.
Okay.
Last playoffs.
All right. So you're looking at the playoff grid. Is that what you're looking at?
I'm looking at the bracket.
Okay.
Well, whenever MLS's website loads, because it's an abomination to God and man.
Yes. That is true.
Okay. So you had 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 and 3 is 24. So that's 24 games potentially in the first round.
Okay.
Then 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31.
Okay.
32, 33. So that's 33 games potentially in all of the playoffs.
Correct. Okay.
So 33. So remember that number, 33.
33. Our friends at Rolling Rock would be happy for you.
Yeah, well, so let's say if we had done 2 games through each round up to the final. Like,
Okay.
let's say we just do the wild card being what it is.
Okay.
The wild card is a one-off. I'm fine with the wild card being Thunderdome. I'm
Sure.
cool with that.
Absolutely.
Then you go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18,
Mm-hmm.
20, 22, 24, 26, 28, see, 30. So you're just underneath. You still would have gotten roughly 30 games if you'd have gone with the 2-game system.
Okay.
Just do that. Because you still would have gotten around 30 games with, I'm doing the math again, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12,
Yeah, 15.
14,
15 on
15, 17, nice, 19, 21,
31.
23. Yeah, you still would have, so you only gained 3 more games or 2 more games,
2.
potentially, and you might not even get those 2 games.
Yeah.
By doing this format, as opposed to just playing a 2-game ties
Mm-hmm.
from round 1 up through conference finals, you would have guaranteed yourself north of 30 games.
Yeah.
As it stands, you need at least 2 of these rounds to go to a 3rd game. I don't know if you get that. Just go to 2 legs, please, from round 1 through the conference finals,
And announce it in February.
and announce it in February, and you still get damn near the same amount of games, and you get guaranteed 30 games.
Yeah.
As opposed to a lower number.
Mm-hmm.
So if the idea here was to generate more games for Apple,
which is what I think it was, you're trying to generate episodes for a TV series.
Mm-hmm. But to Michael Hitt's point, the argument, the American public can't comprehend a 2-leg format. I think they can, though. Like, I mean, most of the soccer public can, because they've been watching Champions League for years. They've been watching, or if they're of the sicko South American persuasion like we are, they've been watching Libertadores and Sudamericana for years.
Yes.
If they're new to it, I don't think it's that hard to teach. I get where you're coming from, but it's a different format. And I don't mind the playoff format, mostly because you get stuff like Philadelphia, New England, where they're gonna game 2 is going to devolve into a fist fight at some point. It's gonna be glorious.
Yeah.
Good morning, Rich. I don't know how you feel about Arizona losing the World Series, but there's always something fun about watching the team that beat you suffer immense sadness, especially on their own field. Also, gentle reminder, you don't work in a corner office for Comcast or for Rob Manfred. So TV numbers shouldn't ruin your day.
No.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you're looking.
So don't lose sleep at night over TV numbers.
Yeah, you're looking at other metrics.
Your job doesn't depend on the TV numbers for the World Series or for MLS or for the Masters or NFL. Just go enjoy things, and then one of the keys in life, let other people enjoy things. Let people enjoy things.
No, I want to enjoy it by myself.
Yeah, and to Michael's point, so this is something that I think is interesting that MLB did for the chunk of this season, was when they went to commercial break, they would run these little infographics about the changes to baseball's rules, like the pitch clock, that sort of thing. I think if you went to a 2-leg system, you could do something like that in MLS. Like, you could have you could just buy ad space. Like, hey, 2-leg playoffs are coming back to MLS. Don't know what that is? Great question. Here is the answer in 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then, aggregate goals matter, all that jazz.
Yes. And if the score is equal and you've had equal circumstances after match number 2 and 120 minutes, then we go to penalties or whatever, whatever wrinkle you want to put in it. So basically what you're saying, if we have just done the math here, is that if you were to go 2 legs home and away each and every series all the way up to MLS Cup, you would have a guarantee of 31 episodes in this television series, where 33 is what you would be staring at otherwise. It's like, do you want the 31 episode run that you know you're going to have, or do you want to try and end up with 33 episodes all the way through, with the semifinals and the conference final and MLS Cup just being one-offs? That's where your trade-off ends up. And this will be an intriguing math problem to see how many of these series in the opening round go to that third game. I mean, literally, you only have the one upset on the board right now. It's Sporting taking care of all caps, and they can close that out on the weekend. Then you end up with LAFC Vancouver, and apparently they're going to open up the upper deck at BC Place. I think it's the first time in modern memory that they've opened up the upper deck at BC Place for Vancouver, who's got to try and equalize the series, not make up a goal deficit, but equalize the series in Game 2, late night on the 5th. Houston and RSL, we know that one's going to be crazy. Seattle and Dallas, bad news yesterday on Alan Velasco, ligament damage. Mm-hmm. He is gone for this series, and it's going to be substantial recovery time there. So that is not the news that Dallas needed as a part of this in that 2-7. And in the East, Cincinnati and Red Bulls. Red Bull, when this one has their game number 2, let's see, what's today? Thursday, Saturday night. It's going to be awful television. That's all I'm going to say right now. It's going to be hideous.
Wait, Philadelphia?
No,
or Cincy?
Cincy Red Bull.
I was about to say. Cincy. Yeah, I mean, Cincy will just hold Red Bulls underwater, I imagine, until the bubbles stop coming up. That's about it. It'd be funny if Red Bulls took that to 3 games, though.
Yeah, it would, and it would be. You thought that dragging it down into Game 2 was going to be holding folks underwater.
Yes.
Game 3 is definitely going to be the same way. Philly, New England, we know that's going to be a street fight. That's always.
Oh my God, I still don't think we've had any clarity on the situation. I don't think we've had any clarity on the situation with Kai Wagner.
No, we have not.
Okay, well, MLS never does anything quickly or transparently, which is one of their great many faults.
Yep.
We'll see. I'm guessing in that case, then he'll play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, watch that one turn into a slobber knocker.
Mm-hmm. And then Game 2 on Tuesday is part of Orlando and Nashville and Columbus and Atlanta, and the game at Geodis is going to be the late one. So we will have Lucas Panzica coming on the 8th. On Wednesday morning to discuss out of the blocks, and we'll see how awake Lucas is, and we'll see how awake we are after games 2. But yeah, if you only did 2-game series, home and away, all the way through, and kept it away from MLS Cup, you'd only have 2 less episodes. You guarantee 31 episodes in the television series, where 33 would be what you're staring at coming out of a round 1. And working its way in its current format. So once again,
it's a gamble, and it's a gamble that feels. I don't know how many new people you're getting, and you got a bunch of cool kids at the lunch table who write about this sport and write about this league, and some of them just seem to find the most, to find every way possible just to be miserable about it.
Yeah.
And you gave them new ammo to be miserable about unnecessarily.
Right.
I don't know how many new people you're going to get in with a best of 3 series, in terms of accessibility. And then on top of that, I don't know how many. I don't know how many you're going to just annoy with it. It's just all of it just felt so weird.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest complaint about it, honestly, is the gap between games in some of these series. It's just too much. It is just way too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Is the gap is just way too much, and I would be interested to see it if you did like extravaganzas
Mm-hmm.
over 3 days. What do you got? 8 games. What if you did 8 games over 3 days?
And that's
So
the other.
you did.
Oh, that's the other problem that I have.
Well, if you did like Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Mhm.
or even if you did middle of the week, that's fine. Cut into the action. If you cut into action, by the way, you missed a hell of a game with Akron last night.
Oh my God, Akron and Kent.
Yeah, Akron came back. It was like 27-10.
Yeah.
One of my best friends went to Akron. He was like, "You got to watch this." I'm like, "Oh Jesus Christ, they're coming back!"
Yeah.
And they did come back.
Going into the fourth quarter, it was there was some space there.
Yeah, there was some space there. That's accurate. But you had yeah, man, you had something else going on there with potentially cutting into action. That's cool, man. Do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Well, and since it's
Play it.
if it's FS1, they'll counter program the action anyway.
Yeah, play it 5-7. Play it 5-7-9, or 6-8-10.
Yeah.
And play 3 games, 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And then do it the next week.
Yeah.
And then do it the next week.
Mm-hmm.
Put 6-7 days between them, not 10 days with this weird broken up schedule, like someone dropped peanut brittle on the kitchen floor.
And try.
Anyway, I'm done.
Piece it back together. So you're back on tomorrow? Yeah, maybe.
That's the game plan.
All right. So tomorrow, 9:05. What are we doing tomorrow? 9:05 is normal. Hopefully, our friends and Beyond Goals will be with us at 9:30, and Whip Around. We'll kick off at 10, and we'll get you ready. News of the day and news of the weekend. Love the conversation that you guys are having in the Twitch pitch this morning. Kaylor Hodges set to join us at the top of the hour to discuss what's going on in USL. Niko Moreno set to join us also at 10:30 for Thursdays with Niko. And I know that you guys have been having conversations in and amongst yourselves about the future of athletes and coaches and all of that kind of stuff. And frankly, I just love the fact that you guys want to have these discussions with yourselves and then the rapid fire way that we might have the chance to sit there and look at a comment or two. And I know that there will be personnel changes in the off season because we've gone over what it looks like in the contract status department. And so Garth has said, that it's going to take a while. Short-term pain, long-term gain. So if you want to look at this season and that first window as the build and working your way through, it'll be the first full training camp that Atlanta United will have with Saba and with Gigi and with Shande Silva and whomever else that they want to bring in the winter to be a part of this discussion, to build toward next year. And they were going to. Garth admitted when we had him on in the spring that there was going to be, like I said, there's going to be some windows, and you're going to have to dispose of some contracts and try and figure out how to do, the Jenga that is the math in Major League Soccer. So, look at this season in the prism that it's being presented. And then, yes, the team wants to do as best it possibly can with the personnel that they have. They had the adjustments that were made in the summer window. You'll have those individuals for a full training camp and a full January, February leading into next season. So right now you have, a staff dealing with the personnel and trying to sit there and do as best they can with it at the same time that you're trying to adjust. So that would be, like I said, that's how I'm looking at it through that particular prism. So best of three, I could take it or leave it. I get it. But since we did the math to prove that literally it's only possibly two more episodes of a television series. 33 versus 31 for me. I mean, shoot. if you even went 2-leg MLS Cup, you'd be one episode short of the number that you have attached to it at 33. So right now you'd have 31 episodes of a television series if you kept Wild Card at 1, had 2 all the way through, and MLS Cup as a single. So I'd take 31 knowing that I'm going to have 31, and maybe not having 31 in your best of 3 and then your singles. So that's, like I said, that's my thoughts. And like I said, I'm glad that you guys Kevsey, Jamal Chiade late, you're trying to get in fresh legs. So, I mean, I understand that completely. I mean, when you're bringing in those late substitutions, you're trying to bring in fresh legs and you're trying to work that much faster, if that makes any sense, trying to work your way back from a deficit. I'm hoping that, that Jamal has fully and totally recovered from everything. And I'm fairly certain, obviously, that he wouldn't be out there if he hadn't fully recovered from the injuries sustained a couple weeks ago. So, good to see Jamal get his cup of coffee. I think it was out there to get fresh legs and just to try to churn things a little faster. I mean, like it was, if you want to do our friends at SofaScore, Jamal with the yellow got a 6.6, so it was one of the higher numbers. He played 30. Successful dribble, 4 of 5 passing on 9 touches, won one of his 2 ground duels, was fouled once. So, no, like I said, at that point, when you're just trying to bring in subs and fresh legs and try to run that much faster at Columbus. So, good 30 minutes for Jamal Chiade, even though, yes, he did get a yellow. So, we'll keep an eye on that. Before we bring in Kaylor Hodges, it is time for me to read a promo. So, I have to adjust volumes appropriately so no one gets blown out and you guys can actually understand what it is that I'm saying. So, I'm going to hit a button and read a promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's the Lemonize Service. The Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Thank you, Ricky, for telling me what that is. Makes it easy to work with, said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard, we take that masking agent out. We spray the masking agent in the air. There's a reason it's called a masking agent. And what you're doing is you're masking the odors. You're not attacking the problem like our friend at the Lemonize Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's the website. And this is where I grab my pen. Website's lemonize.com. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on our YouTube channel, on Twitch, or on the 280-character app. Full homework assignments, lemonize.com, but go /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from so they can help you with your issues. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, lemonize.com /Atlanta. A Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH here on your Thursday Thoughts as we go through the world of soccer. An attempt to slow fade, which I know will not happen because it'll crash about right here and you won't be able to hear it anymore, even though there are still VUs, there's still levels that are attached to it. So, as promised, it's 10 o'clock Eastern time on a Thursday. And so we go to Kaylor Hodges, who is in Birmingham, and he has been looking at everything USL League One, USL Championship for at the USL Show. And Kaylor gets to break down everything in the second division and the third division for us. We only have 6 teams left, man.
Yeah, suddenly and everything seems to be less overwhelming, going from talking about all the games to now just 3 matches, including a Dogwood Derby final, and that's just awesome.
Nothing like getting Brazilian folks screaming, ranting, and raving, in my ear anyway, while you're trying to break everything down the way that you normally do. Well, no, because what I was going to do, I don't know if you heard what happened in Brazilian competition last night, but John Texter, who has been known to own a few franchises,
including my Crystal Palace.
Yes. Botafogo played Palmeiras last night, and apparently a 3-0 lead turned into a 4-3 loss, and Texter was none too pleased on Brazilian television and dropped an F-bomb that they didn't bleep. Sideline interview about the game. He was mad at the officiating for a red card that he didn't think was deserved for one of his players. Thinks that that the ref needs to no longer be reffing, and he thinks that things need to change in the Brasileiro. And so, yeah, he dropped an expletive on a live sideline interview saying, "You want to go ahead and fine me, or suspend me, you go right ahead. I own the stadium. I'll be here." So that was a good minute.
I mean, I respect it. I fully respect it. What are you going to do? I'm a billionaire. So what?
Because, it's like, I'm mad. I'm going to tell you I'm mad. I'm going to back up my players, and I'm going to drop an F-bomb on Brazilian live sports television. So
the players loved it too.
He had a busy night. Let's just put it that way. And when you're sitting there, and I had already dumped the quote, and it was in the production board. And so, of course, you know when you're scrolling through things on the 280 character app, when you cue past something on the 280 character app and it's silent, the second you go over the monitor, it goes up. And so I ended up having John Texter cussing in my ear while you were wrapping up your first question. So I had that going for you, which was nice.
I mean, really, me and him are exactly the same. So I'm glad you could tell us apart.
You're like this. You drop F-bombs on the sideline interviews. You see how that goes?
Yeah, Brazilian sideline interviews.
Exactly. In addition to going over the matches that happened and setting up what's going on this weekend, including the Dogwood Derby, which is the USL League One final, I also wanted to have you put your thinking cap on, and we'll get to that after we go through all the matches. How we have awards of awards. We mentioned MVP and how you guys there at the USL show said Jack Gurr from Sacramento Republic is your MVP. I wanted to go another couple of levels. Coach, newcomer, young player, best defender, best keeper, those kinds of things, and then we'll come up with an award that's kind of off the rails, if that has nothing to do with award shows, like best something else that pops into your mind. And anything like that. But when you look back at what happened this past weekend to get us to the Final Four in the East with wacky seedings and chalk in the West and USL League One from 30,000 feet, what sticks in your head?
You have to, I think, for me, go Omaha.
What happened in the front office there?
So Peter Marlette's gone, which is, I think that's huge. People talked about them leaving a J Mims last year, and he was big, but Peter was kind of the lifeblood of this front office. And that's not completely fair to everybody else that's involved, but he's what really got that engine rolling. And I'm not saying that it's going to end up being the detriment to this team or anything like that, but that happening. And also, I mean, it kind of stings a little extra when you take 33 shots, none of them go in, and then your GM says, "By the way, I'm out." Like that's a lot of stinging going on out in Omaha, Nebraska.
You're like, bruh, you didn't win. You go to a shootout and you go to penalty kicks, you lose in the PKs, and I'm out.
Yeah.
Not the anticipated double result you were looking for from the weekend.
No. In all reality, we kind of talked about this on the USL show, just kind of thinking, right? We decided to go a little conspiracy. We get, hey, big rivalry between Greenville and Omaha. All I'm saying is John Harkes and Peter Marlette have left at the same time.
Okay.
Hey, wouldn't it be cool to see MLS or USL championship team run by those two?
My money's on DC, by the way. DC United for Harkes.
That's not a bad shot. I wouldn't be shocked if Harkes or Marlette end up in San Diego either, to be fair.
Okay. And I mean, that's very, very cool. MLS has named Yorgi Shakamakis newcomer of the year. So think of your newcomer of the year. We're gonna have the USL Show's newcomer of the year here on SDH coming up later on in the segment. So very cool. And think of a full season with Gigi for Atlanta United. Really looking forward to that. Charlotte makes their way through. North Carolina. When you look at the season for Northern Colorado, obviously it stopped before they wanted to. But when you look at what Amon Zayed was able to do there in year one in Northern Colorado with Trevor Ammon, who I think just scored another 2 goals. They've stopped playing for the season, and he kept scoring goals. What do you think about what Northern Colorado was able to do in year one up at Future Legends?
It's impressive. This is going from a team that hadn't really announced anything of their roster from, I think it was 2 weeks before the season had started. Everybody kind of put the Fire and Ice Derby together of Fuego and Hailstorm and said these 2 teams are going to be absolutely awful. They don't even have a roster yet. And then Arthur Rogers he's a freak show. He is incredible. He does whatever you want him to do. Do you want him to play right wing? He can do that. You want him to play right back? He can do that. You want to play center back? He can do that. You want him to play midfield? He can do that. And guess what? It's not he can just do it. He is probably the best in the league at doing all those things, which is ridiculous. And then you have him on who's just incredible too. Whenever he gets it on target, it goes in. You kind of also just have to say, hey, look at this North Carolina team. Look at what they did. Michigan is incredible. He's one of the most underrated players in the league of playing the wings, left wing and right wing. And I understand he gets named to, USL League One first team of the year, and you wouldn't say, well, that doesn't mean he's underrated. I still think he is.
No matter where Rafa Mensingen has gone in USL League One, he's just gone about and done his business. Did it in Chattanooga, and now he's doing it at the next stop. Like this, literally, it's like wherever Rafa goes, you're going to be getting the same guy, regardless of what the team results may be in the standings. Rafa Mensingen's going to get his numbers, he's going to get his goals, and he's going to be that presence for you that you're hunting for when you picked him up in the first place.
And you also have McLaughlin, who has been quietly, not even quietly, he's just been outright one of the best players in the league. Our friends over at Walking 90s said that he could end up just being the I think Golden Boot winner this last year. They thought that he was up there for that. And then you also have Anderson, who, again, I don't want to say underrated, but one of the quietest 17-goal seasons I've ever seen. I mean, we all get wrapped up in Amon scoring goals for fun. And then, he was right there with 17 and no one seemed to care. 17 goals that's a career year for everyone. And he just did it in the background. And North Carolina, they have an attack that is legit. Their back line is fun. I really enjoy watching just their back line in general. And then they have Thompson, which their goalkeeper room is hilarious to me because their oldest goalkeeper, the oldest one, was born in 98. Their oldest goalkeeper, who got minutes, only 2 games, is 25. Their starting goalkeeper was born in 2002. Their backup, Holiday, who he got half of the season, 2006. They're just a young group with leadership around them that's just really good, and I really enjoy watching them. This is a fun final, just a really fun final.
And North Carolina gradually trying to work their way up. When are they heading back to USL Championship next year or so?
Next year, which is one of our friends, Ryan Allen, is just kind of jokingly saying that this could be the first case of true promotion in the U.S. They win the championship, they go up. Were they going up anyway? We're not talking about that. USL's doing pro rel right. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, if they win, it does end up being the karmic promotion and relegation aspect, or just the karmic promotion aspect of it all. Yeah. When you look at the idea of reseeding, I know it's a novel concept, but I think that USL League One got it right. where
Yeah.
it's the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. I know that we want to have the matchups. I think that you and the guys wanted to have your crisscross. You didn't want to have the reseeded matchups, but you wanted to have Northern Colorado and Omaha, and you wanted to have the other side being what it is with Charlotte and North Carolina coming out and having it be a semifinal. But I think this is the way that you need to do it. I think you need to reseed. I don't think we see reseeding enough.
Completely agree. And, some people say, well, this is the way that leagues do this. They do it on purpose, so everything balances out in the end. I mean, personal opinion, screw balancing out. If you were the best team in the regular season, you should deserve to play the easier teams. Why not? Why would you not want your best teams in the final? Oh man, isn't it a great story how the worst team in the playoffs made it to the final? No. I want to see the best team.
No.
Those are cool stories. It's just makes me mad.
Gee, I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
USL Championship. All right, so we don't have any juice box currently. Well, since it's November, it would be Thanksgiving side dishes to put on North Carolina and Charlotte for 5 o'clock. They move the start time up. But what does your gut tell you about North Carolina and Charlotte?
This one is about as even as it gets. It really, truly is. Charlotte has a bunch of guys who can score. Pack is the best goalkeeper in League One right now. I know Sean Lewis fans out in Knoxville are going to say, well, he won Golden Glove. Pack's back line was allowing a lot more shots. I think he's been incredible. You look around and you have Joel Johnson, who has been just incredible for them. Yeah, I mean, it's that Joel Johnson. He's been around forever. You have, yes, Dane Kelly still around. You have Njidi, who's been scoring goals lately. You have Bennett, who's been really good. You have Mimbu, who's been really good. But then you look at the other side. We talked about Anderson. We talked about McGoughlin. We talk about Minsigan. We talk about Jaden Cervania. And then this entire back line. These are two offenses that are incredible. That said, Pack has already stood on his head once. And while you say, yes, let's ride the hot hand, eventually that brick wall kind of has to crumble. I think he, in a weird way, faced too much in the previous round. My gut is telling me North Carolina, especially since this is at home.
Yeah.
And now if this was in Memorial Stadium going over to Charlotte, maybe I feel differently. But this being in Cary, I think gives it a little bit more juice. I'm hedging North Carolina, but I would not be shocked to see this go the full distance into shootouts, and then from there, whoever wins.
Okay. I'll take the home stand. I'll go North Carolina FC in this one over Charlotte. It's going to be a tight one. It will probably end up going 120. I don't think it goes to PKs, but I'll go Dogwood Derby goes to North Carolina FC. USL Championship halftime. Kaylor Hodges here at the USL Show with their weekly playoff visits here Thursday mornings at 10 Eastern. If I had told you on the right-hand side in the East that it would be a 3 and a 5 that would be in the Eastern Conference final, regardless of who is attached to those seeds, if I had told you it was going to be a 3 and a 5 in the East playing in the Eastern Conference final when the playoffs started, what would you have told me?
If let's take the names away from it, you just act like that doesn't exist. I don't think it's too incredibly off. Because last year was the first year we got a 1-versus-1 in the USL Championship. 1 seeds go down. It's not an uncommon occurrence. Now I'd be shocked that the 2 seed also went down, but that is what it is. When you get that 4-versus-5, anything can happen. A team wins, they get hot, they make a run. It's not a shocking outlook. Is it what I would have guessed if removing teams from this? No, but not incredibly shocked.
But you end up with Lou City going to Charleston here. Now let's put the names back into it.
Yes.
Lou City survives Memphis 901. So Sacramento's indomitable and Lou City is inevitable. I see how this works.
Yes.
So you survive Memphis off a PK off the post. It's Detroit. It was the 8th seed. They had a good run. You took full advantage of playing an 8 seed. And then you're now going to Patriots Point. Lou City, we know about their experience. We know they're not intimidated by surroundings or anything. Charleston, on the other hand, blew out Indy, took care of Birmingham. What are you staring at in this one?
I think the biggest storyline here in this one is off the pitch, or I guess on the sidelines, Cruz versus Pierman.
Yeah.
This was, if people don't know, if you're MLS kind of only, and that's where your brain is, you need to check out this most recent matchup, because Pierman goes down and says, when you have a nice, pretty stadium, when you're playing the darlings of the USL, they'll do anything it takes for them to win, just basically saying that everything's rigged in Lou City's favor. And Danny Cruz goes on live radio show and tells him to shut the explicitive up. And it has everything of drama that you want. And we talked to Pierman a couple weeks ago, and we didn't bring up Cruz on there, although we really wanted to. We kind of know who Pierman is, and we love him for this, but he's a little petty. By a little petty, really petty. This is going on in the background. He wants to get one over on Danny, and he's in public is probably going to say all the right things about how he respects Lou City and what they've done and Danny Cruz, but there's going to be a lot of extra fire in these training sessions. Same for Lou City, though. For Lou City head coach to go on airways in Louisville and just say that he's a whiny baby boy. And I mean, come on. Everything about this is incredible. Now, you're looking on the field, Barajas is not going to be there, and that's a bit of a hit, but you're looking at Tristan Traeger and Mark Hanich, who, I mean, for any other team in the league, almost any other team in the league, those are the best two winger duos you could ask for, and they're kind of backups. I think they're going to be fine. Lou City has kind of changed out of their traditional three at the back that they've always done. Sharpie has moved from center back over to left back and has looked dang good doing it. Lou City's hot right now after getting 4 against Detroit, which you say, well, they're the 8th seed, but also Detroit sneakily, I called them the best back line in the USL. Getting 4 on them is nothing to scoff at. And this is setting up for a really fun matchup just in general, but not to spoil too much, I'm leading the battery at home at Patriots Point.
So a whiny baby boy was what he called him?
I think I've got that. I think that quote is pretty close to what it was, because it's pretty close. Maybe not exact verbiage, but that was what we got at. Yeah.
Oh boy, a whiny baby boy. I'll have to remember that one. On the left-hand side out of the West, as we look at it, Sacramento, we figured Sacramento would be a part of the discussion, but they had to get through. And the margin of victory over San Antonio, I think, was probably what shocked a lot of folks. You figured Sacramento would win, but not by the margin of victory that they did. And Phoenix continues to work their way through as a 6. So it's 1-6 in the West.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix, we talked about it last week. There's nobody that thrives in being the villain more. No one. There's no one else in this league that loves it. And right now they're going on a USL death march through California. They've taken over SoCal, and now they're marching their way up to Northern California. And there's a lot here that's fun. There's not a lot of other teams that can take on the villain role and are as excited to face, frankly, the Sacramento crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I think more than the players on the pitch, Phoenix wants to face the crowd. They're just that kind of team that just wants to just ruin people's days. And that attack is gross. We talk about Danny Trejo. We talk about Falella. We get into Armanakis, Arteaga. You get into all of those guys, and it's incredible what they're doing. But it's like Formella. I don't know why it just came out of my mouth. Formella. But those are an incredible attack, but I mentioned Detroit City having the best possibly having the best back line, and then you look at the Sacramento team. Connor Donovan, and spoiler of earlier or what's coming later, kind of has to. It depends on what you want from a defender, but he's been the best defender this year. You have these other guys that this back line can shut you down. I think it's 26 goals allowed this year. Ridiculous how good they are. And we talked about it on the USL show on Tuesday. This is a team that they can beat you however they want. It's not like because even Nicholas Murray, who does the USL kind of PR thing and content stuff, he said that this is not the best team in USL history by any stretch, but they can truly beat you any way they want. Do you want to sit and be defensive and counterattack? They can do that to you. Do they want to just kill you on the wings? Yeah, they can absolutely do that to you. Do they want to control possession at times? They can do that. And do they want to just go straight through the spine and just go right down the throat? Yeah, they can do that. If through every 15-minute passage of play that you have in, footy, every 15 minutes, 15, 30, 45, and then to the 60, so on and so forth, they have a different style that they can hit you with. And not just that they can do it, they excel at. So if Phoenix decides to come out in their 5-man back line like their coach Wangaro likes to do, Sacramento can match up against it. If they want to go to this kind of 4-2-4 or 4-4-2, 4-3-3 kind of thing, they can match that too. This feels like Sacramento just because they can match whatever Phoenix does. But Phoenix has been kind of the cardiac kids. They get it into extra time and they win it late. If they win, am I shocked? Yes. But also it kind of feels like this is what they do. And it's maybe not the most shocking thing, but I would not predict it in the slightest.
Phoenix, Danny Trejo, 19 goals. Arteaga with 15. Formella with 12. Harvey and Armanakis with 5 each. And then you have another 5 dudes who've scored this season for Phoenix. So it has been across the board for Phoenix this season when you look at what's going on with them in USL Championship. Your Thanksgiving side dishes. Charleston right now is a plus 135 to win outright in 90 minutes. Lou City's a plus 173 on the road. Your 90-minute draw is a plus 236. Sacramento's actually on the minus side at home, and the numbers are changing as I'm talking about them. Because we're talking about them, the numbers change. Sacramento's a minus 103. That has changed since we've been talking about it. 90-minute draw is a plus 249, and Phoenix is a plus 239 to win outright. So those are your numbers when it comes to the juice boxes on the weekend for the Final Four in USL Championship. All right, so you mentioned MVP in USL Championship, Jack Gurr. You're not moving. Yep. You guys aren't moving off of that one, are you?
At least I'm not. I think he's pretty solidified. I think he's been the best player in the league this year.
Newcomer of the year.
That one's really hard. I think it kind of depends on if someone came up from, I guess, another USL league. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to need to come back on that one to think a little bit more on it.
You can save it for next week if you want. That's perfectly fine because we still have a final and a post-mortem on a season. Best defender.
Connor Donovan. You can still say Jack Gurr because he's a defender technically, but I like, whenever I think defender of the year, my brain just goes center back. And to me, it's been Connor Donovan. I think there's a sneaky push that you could have a Michael Bryant of Detroit City, but to me, it's Donovan out in Sacramento.
So yeah, I could see you and the guys doing the Cy Young plus MVP thing, like a Clayton Kershaw award for Jack Gurr in a situation like that. Best keeper.
Man, I mean, Vitella out at Sacramento, I think. But Steinwasser has been incredible this year too. I think you can argue either one. I think you can say, well, Steinwasser faced more shots, more quality shots. But Batella, I, I think he's just been better.
Okay. Coach of the year.
Again, this one's hard. I am tempted just to give it to Ben Pierman again.
Okay.
A 34-point turnaround is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. 34 points gained this year compared to last year. I think it has to go Pierman, but if you told me that Bob Lilly were to win it, completely fair too. I could totally get behind that one.
Okay. And I did not, and this is my fault. I did not close the deadline for the awards. Traditionally, it could have been something at the end of the regular season, and then I could see you leaning toward Lilly. But since I didn't close the deadline and we're talking about it now, you can open that up to other folks other than Bob Lilly.
Yeah, I think when you look at Bob Lilly, you look at what he did with this team, a team that I didn't believe in whatsoever coming preseason, and he does this. I also did not think that Pierman was going to have this level of turnaround. So I could take arguments from either side. I think that they're both real. I think that you could have fun debating the two. You can say, well, Lilly just has a system and he plugs in places, and you could kind of say the same thing about Pierman, but also isn't having a system that you can plug in place make you a good coach? Isn't that a part of a staple of being a good coach?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then my last award is the one that has nothing to do with any award show whatsoever. Is there a non-traditional award for USL Championship or USL League One that you would give? I mean, literally, it could be anything off the top of your head. Best game day experience, best meal I've ever had, most underrated whatever, most overrated whatever. Literally, I'm opening up the floor, and next week we probably could go down a rabbit hole with these. So give me an atypical award that you would never have on an award show that you would present to the USL.
oh man, I really like this one. So you kind of mentioned just kind of food and stuff like that. Big foodie for me.
Okay.
My two leans immediately are New Mexico,
Okay.
and looking at just kind of what their supporters do, and just the stuff that they're making tailgates. Those are really fun. Also, New Mexico has one of the best atmospheres in the USL. That one's fun.
Mm-hmm.
The best tailgate meal. This goes across any sport. This goes across any league, across any soccer, whatever I've ever been to. Hands down, the best tailgate meal I've ever had came from the Charleston Battery, where they had a full crawfish shrimp roll going on. They had the full spread. I think that might be mine. Best tailgate meal goes to Charleston Battery. I think that if you just also, this is a really random, not really random, I guess.
That's what this
segment
is for.
Yeah, complete. That's what this is exactly for. I'm just going to go ahead and give the worst experience award.
Okay.
Which is just the Las Vegas Lights, just broadly gesturing.
Yeah.
The biggest thing there is honestly just watching it. The camera angle is horrible.
Yeah.
Forget how bad the team is. I just don't want to watch it because the camera is awful.
So and hopefully the experience at Summerlin might have been giving them ideas for the 24 season, because Cashman can be a difficult position for cameras and a difficult watch. We'll do more of this next week because we'll have a champion in USL League One. I know there's been some player movement that has already happened, especially in a place like El Paso. What's going to happen between now and the next time that you're on the USL show?
I mean, just outright new show coming up on Tuesday where we break down the League One final, and we're going to preview the championship. So super exciting stuff. This is when we get to the bookends of the year. It's always busy. It's always a lot of fun. And if you want, I guess, more in-depth everything and not just little bite-sized pieces, that's going to be there. And usually John, USL Tactics, John Morrissey, he releases a full championship tactical breakdown between the two, which is usually pretty long.
Mm-hmm.
So check out the YouTube channel for that. It does not go on Twitter like it normally does. And one request for the people, our friend at ILM_Ryan is running a 5K. So wish him luck.
Mm-hmm.
Tell Ryan, hey, good luck. And also, please convince him to bring the selfie stick so we can stream this for content. There's nothing we want more than just to have the selfie stick in front of him and just.
Of course,
we want it. We want it so bad. So tell him to bring something to stream himself running because we think it'd be hilarious.
Yes, and the idea of the championship. I think that's how Jeremy Allenbaugh needs to promote that going forward. It needs to be the championship. Legitimately, I think you've stumbled across something here.
Championship squared, just a little too.
There you go. See, now that'd be pretty awesome. As always, at Kaylor Hodges, at the USL Show, my friend, we will catch up again next Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll go through the USL League One title game and get ready for the championship. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Kaylor puts up with us on a weekly basis here. And it's fun to get the USL perspective, but I think he has stumbled across something. He has stumbled across the marketing genius of the championship. Literally, if you do the squared or championship squared or but I literally would do championship, and you would have the USL branding and go, USL championship. That would be perfect for me. I would thoroughly enjoy that kind of gear. Atlanta United, by the way, has released a video about 1 minute and 40 seconds about how they call in a few friends to give Gigi the Newcomer of the Year award. Very, very cool stuff from them this morning. Gigi beats out Messi for the Newcomer of the Year award. The breakdown for the percentages, let's see. Third in the Golden Boot. League's best goals per 90 mark at 0.85, minimum of 1,500 minutes played. Second fastest player in league history to reach double-digit goals, 10 goals, first 766 minutes. Fourth most in Atlanta United history, 17 goals. 6 came via header, second most in Major League Soccer. MLS Player of the Match Day 27. 5G Goal of the Match Day honors Match Day 13, MLS All-Star. Voting results. Gigi was second to Messi by 1.2%. In the player vote, was 12% better than Messi, 46% to 34 in the club vote, and media vote was a landslide. Giacomakis finished with 56.7% of the vote. He had a majority over Edward Lewin, who finished second in the media vote, and Lionel Messi, who finished third, by the way. So Gigi finishes with a plurality, 45.78%. The Messi guy finished second, a little over 27%, and Lewin finished third at 15.44. So it is the second year in a row that Atlanta United has the Newcomer of the Year, and it is the third time in the last 7 years that it has happened for Atlanta United. Almiron in 2017, Almada last year, and Gigi this year. So very, very cool that Gigi gets Newcomer of the Year. Presented by Major League Soccer as they start to trickle out their awards when it comes to this season. Niko Moreno from our friends at Pulso Sports coming up in short order, and we will break down everything from all the time that we missed in Major League Soccer in the playoffs. All of the match day ones are now in the barn. Only one team has won on the road. That is Sporting, taking out all caps in game one of their series. And we have this weekend the start of round number 2 and match day 2s. So we'll be getting into all of that with Niko as well, coming down the pipeline. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. I know that we got news of the morning, and we're going to be kind of cramming everything into a space. Luis Suarez, this was the other piece of information. It came out yesterday. Luis Suarez set to join Inter Miami in 2024, reuniting with Messi, Busquets, and Alba. That came from El País. Chelsea and Arsenal both interested in signing Ivan Toney after Brentford confirmed they would sell for the right price. The Bees value Toney at $100 million. You ain't getting that. Intend to keep him till the end of the season. Probably something in the 60 to 80 range would be where I would think that your Ivan Toney price tag is. Manchester United continuing to send scouts to watch Portuguese keeper Diogo Costa, who they were linked with before signing Andre Onana, but he will only leave Porto if United pay the €75 million release clause. Real Madrid have identified Alphonso Davies as a key target, confident in agreeing with a deal with his current club Bayern Munich to bring him to Liverpool next summer. Real Madrid keeping an eye on Gonzalo Inacio, will compete with Liverpool and Manchester United for Sporting Lisbon's Gonzalo Inacio. Newcastle interested in Gabri Vega, who's now playing in Al Ahly, who went there from Celta Vigo. Arsenal lining up a move for Benjamin Sesko, who rejected Manchester United and joined RB Leipzig instead. Inter Milan sporting director Piero Ausilio has accused Romelu Lukaku of lacking respect by opening talks with Juve while negotiations between Chelsea and Inter were ongoing. That's from the four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Everton already keen to sign on-loan Leeds winger Jack Harrison in a permanent deal. United interested in Battleship Galatasaray's Sasha Bowie at right back, with Arsenal, Brighton, and Burnley also interested. Four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Brighton's former Brighton boss Graham Potter could be the next Sweden manager, after reports suggested Manchester United were interested in replacing Erik Ten Hag with him. Real Madrid had no intention of allowing Aurelien Tchouameni to leave amid interest from Arsenal and Liverpool. Manchester City and KDB will have a major scan on his hamstring injury next week to show how the recovery process is going. That is your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And that means for the final half hour of the show, bang, is my man, Niko Moreno.
What is going on, John? ATL, family of SDH. We are back, baby.
Yes, you are. And we got a bunch of game ones to get into. And we were doing the math this morning. And I think we ought to remind folks how you feel about the idea of the best of three. We were doing the math. Best of three in the opening round and then singles all the rest of the way only guarantees you a maximum of 33 games or 33 episodes in this television series called Major League Soccer for Apple TV. If you did home and away, if you did two legs, aggregate, all the way through to MLS Cup final, you would have 31 episodes of this television series. So you'd only have two that were different. You'd have two less if you went home and away, aggregate, as opposed to best of three and then singles. What have you thought about the best of three so far?
Look, it's I've had mixed feelings about it. I still don't love it. It just doesn't feel natural to me. To be frank, I also think that it lessens the importance of game one. I get it, right? I mean, it should be important because now you go into game two with the possibility of sweeping the series, if we're going to use a baseball term here. But at the end of the day, once a certain point happened, I thought that a lot of teams just started downshifting and taking players off and just maybe managing the rest of the game rather than before, where you had an aggregate and you knew that you had to, in some ways, try to find a way back in that first game, battle it in, and then have a closer result for game two, right? So I thought that I still don't have that same suspense, the same need to watch that game one together with game two. Now it just seems like, all right, you lost your game 5-2, like let's say LAFC. It's okay. We're going to reset, start from zero. You're going to be able to reshuffle your players, figure it out, try to get a winning game two, right? I don't like the disconnect. The other thing that I don't like watching the calendar is how these things are going to play out. If Seattle, let's say, they beat Dallas and they go, they sweep the series, how long will they have to wait before their next game, right? And that break, that stoppage for players' rhythm and momentum and everything else that kind of comes with playoff soccer or playoff any sport, you just don't have that, right? Once you wait too long, you kind of lose a lot of that excitement, if you will. So I'm not in love with it. I'm trying to give it a chance. The positives are that we've seen a lot of open play. Teams have not been cagey or pragmatic. And even if they were being a little pragmatic, like Sporting Kansas City, they did it with a little bit of a twist and being able to push out their fullbacks and being able to counter teams and really provide some effort towards being an offensive squad. So that part's been good. Lots of goals, entertaining games, yes. But I think that the soccer component and the passion component do get damaged by this 3-game series.
And right now, including the wild card plus ones, we only have the one result with a lower seed knocking off a top seed in these match day ones, where Sporting came in and took all caps to the woodshed in their first go round. Not necessarily a surprise that you have the dominance from all of the home teams here in match day one.
No, absolutely not. One, because the home teams, yes, the home field advantage is important. But if you look at a lot of these games as well, especially in the West, a lot of the home teams were the heavy favorites. A lot of these home teams had the better closing of the MLS season. If you go to the East, same thing. So, yeah, no surprises, not just because of the home component, but because of the fact that a lot of these teams were in very good form.
When it comes to match day ones leading into match day twos, what team that won in match day one concerns you the most in match day two? I guess what I'm asking is, how many of these series do you anticipate going to a match day three when we come out the other side and we talk about it again next week?
There's quite a few, because I do think that a lot of the score results were a little bit circumstantial. So a lot of them. And let's start with the big rivalry between St. Louis City and Sporting Kansas City. I stuck with St. Louis City when it came to my analysis and who I was going to take in this series. And I do believe that although it's going to be in blue hell, or sorry, HE double hockey stick.
No, you're good, brother. That's a word that doesn't get us the explicit rating. You're good.
All right. Well, that I think that even though it's over there, I think Cornell is the coach that is extremely smart. I think he's going to shuffle things a little bit. His approach might be different. I thought Joe Klaus was a little bit too far away from goal. They did not seem as connected when it came to transition. I think in this one, regardless of the big push of that first game and how the team might feel like they have a huge chip on their shoulder, I think St. Louis could really do some things to get back at Sporting Kansas City and make it a series of 3, kind of flip the script on them, put the pressure on that squad. They're the ones that have to close it out. They're the ones that are going to have to come and, take it from us, because they're at home, and use that to their advantage, maybe take the air of that stadium by pushing back, letting the clock be their friend, and then all of a sudden just attack on the counterattack. Even Red Bulls, FC Cincinnati, I thought Red Bulls had several chances early in the game to change the game. They just don't have that quality. Luquinhas had a couple of looks. Manuel had a couple of looks. I thought that at one point of the game, had they scored one of those and been able to go back to play the way Red Bulls do, they could have managed that game. Now, they made too many mistakes, too many easy goals for a team like Cincinnati. But I thought that they had the right idea. They came to play. They came to fight. They made it difficult. So I even think that game can go a 3-game series. And LAFC, LAFC, that game is very odd. First 45 minutes is back and forth, and it's even as it can be. 2-2. LAFC was doing their thing with Buanga, getting out wide, being quick. Vancouver, on the other hand, with Kuba's back, I thought they controlled the midfield very well, and they were able to get forward. They utilized set pieces. I love what Rubegold was doing, same as White. So I thought it was a pretty even game. Then in the second half, one thing leads to another. You get a couple of unusual mistakes on set pieces by Vancouver, and LAFC, a team that had not been very effective on set pieces, takes some of those chances, is able to get ahead in the score, and then game over. But I think in Vancouver, with this new format that allows you to just reset and not worry about what happened in game one, I think Vancouver can win game two and put a little bit of pressure on LAFC for that last game.
Is Dallas done with Velasco out?
Yeah, I think Dallas was done even with Velasco. No offense to Velasco or Dallas. That's a huge blow. And interestingly enough, when Velasco went out, I actually thought that the midfield was able to pressure better. A lot of the mistakes that resulted in a couple of Jesus Ferreira's chances in front of goal came in after Velasco left. Not because Velasco wasn't doing certain things, but I think Pamico, being more of a box-to-box midfielder or a guy that might need to give you a little bit more of that effort and push and runs rather than a guy like Velasco that's more of a creative player. I thought they put Seattle in some difficult positions. So the real problem with Dallas, yes, of course, losing a guy like Velasco, that's a game changer and someone that can amplify what you do offensively is a problem. But the biggest problem with this team was just coming into the season and the way they finished the tournament, they're just not consistent and they have no fight. And that midfield, a lot of times, doesn't have a player that's a real disruptor, and they allow the other teams to just carry the ball with a lot of ease. And we had the discussion during the game with some media members. There is no real leader in that Dallas team. And for playoffs and games like this, sometimes you need a guy that's going to have the knife at his teeth and is going to be able to just do the dirty work, is going to be able to get everybody going. And they don't really have that person. Because if you look at that squad, that roster, they have some talented players. Yes, Jesus Ferreira. Yes, Paul Arriola. Absolutely. Yes, Ijáramendi, right? But none of those guys, when I look at those last 10 games, not just playoffs, there isn't a real leader in that group that could really get this team through some tough, adverse times. And I think they're in an adverse position, even going back home. So because of that, that was the biggest problem. It wasn't just Velasco.
So then who for Seattle has the garra that we like to talk about when you have those kinds of moments when you want to have the knife between your teeth?
Oh, there's a ton. I mean, Joao Paulo's one of them. You've seen Yeimar Gomez Andrade. He is making sure that he's getting into it with Jesus Ferreira when he was coming in hard on Alex Roldan. He's that physical presence. You got a guy like Nicolas Todero coming in from the bench, changing the game. He really did. And Brian Spencer admitted it. As soon as I brought in Nico, he was an immediate game changer. He's got that magic. He's got that leadership. Anybody in that bench right now, because of the way Brian Spencer is setting up for these games, you still got Raul Ruiz there too. So whenever you have those guys that are those OGs that have been there, done that, look what I can do, just check my record, it just gives the rest of the team a lot of that ease of, hey, man, we got these guys coming off the bench. They could be starters. So I think Seattle, without a doubt, they're the most experienced team in the West. Jerarquía is what we say in Spanish. Those teams that can win it just by the crest and the colors of that shirt, they have that. And they got a lot of those players in that team as well.
How much more do you think Nico Ladero has left in the tank as a player in Major League Soccer?
2 years easy.
Okay.
2 years easy. And I say that without even thinking twice. I think I've been very fortunate to follow his career from day one here in Seattle to today. And I can tell you that there are not many, if any, players that I've seen be as disciplined, committed, and honestly impressive when it comes to taking care of their body, their day-to-day, what they eat, what they take, how they train, when they train, their rest hours. Absolutely everything about the way Niko handles his day-to-day life tells me that he could give you another 2 years. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be a 2,600-minute starter anywhere else. He could. Obviously, there's been time goes by and Father Time's undefeated. Mm-hmm. So he's lost a step from Niko from 2016. But I think that under a specific system, he can be extremely effective. And he has at least 2 years of a Niko that could be a real contributor for absolutely any team in MLS.
Just asking. As I rub my, as I rub my chin.
Yeah, well, Gonzalo knows him well, Gonzalo knows him well, and if there's someone that Niko also respects and would love to play for, I wouldn't doubt it'd be for a guy like Gonzalo, and a guy who's always trusted him in Garth Lagerwey. He had nothing but great things to say about Garth Lagerwey when he departed, as well as when he came back and he was in Seattle. So yeah, maybe you're onto something here.
just rubbing my chin a little bit, just kind of put the thinking cap on, rubbing my chin. I figured I would ask, how he might do in the Eastern Conference. Just thought I would put that out there.
Okay, I like it. I like the way you think, man.
4-5, Benny Ball and RSL. What have you thought so far?
Hey, that's one of the games that I wanted to watch, right? Houston is the Columbus of the West, right? I mean, they're the team that you need to watch, that you want to watch. They're fun, they're free, they're fast and furious. I mean, it's really a squad that's been dominant as well. This game, 2-1 scoreline, you might think it was close. It really wasn't in terms of possession, in terms of creating moments, goal expectations, winning duels. I thought Hector Herrera had a fantastic performance. He's, as I said, a guy that's taking this leadership role to a whole new level, and he's playing as good as I've seen him play in Atletico Madrid, as good as I've seen him play for El Tri, and that's really made a difference. That also has to do with those surrounding him in that midfield. I've said that you do win games in the midfield. People are like, no, you win games in the final third. So look, you can't win games if you don't control the game, and you control it with the midfield. Whenever you got Arthur, Herrera, and a guy like Coco Carrasquilla in the midfield, you have a lot of control. You have a guy like Arthur that, he's going to disrupt, he's going to defend, he's going to take care of business in the back, give you a lot of freedom. You got a guy like Hector Herrera that's going to be box to box, that's going to be touching absolutely every ball that Houston had in connections. I heard he had over 140 passes in that game. I mean, he was just unbelievable. His spacing, his movement, and then the ability to just finish in front of goal, being that guy that comes in a late run into the box and is able to get that ball from Coco Carrasquilla, control it, put it away. That tells me quality. That tells me a lot of things about this Houston team. The game went as I expected it. I even thought I maybe gave you a little bit more than I kind of expected for this team. But regardless of, I do believe that Houston will close it in the second game.
All right, so let's go to the East and take a peek at what you're seeing there. Obviously, you know which one I'm going to talk about last. But let's get into Orlando and Nashville. And, I could do this segment as Gary Smith, asking you the questions in my Gary Smith voice. But, you look at – I mean, it would be the most Orlando thing if Oscar gets – if some reason they don't make it through this opening round. Oscar's out of contract at the end of the year. Some of the front office guys are out of the contract at the end of the year, and they let Oscar go. If they lose this first round match, I could see that happening. I don't see it happening because of how they've clamped down on Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge apparently wants to send the ball into the concession stand from short range as opposed to being clinical and putting it in the back of the net.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Another thing I would add is how comfortable they look just holding the ball and possessing it and telling Nashville, we're in no hurry to get where we need to get. We're going to move this ball side to side. We have a great midfield. We got guys that are ready to push out wide. We got speed with Angulo on one side. We got creativity with Facundo Torres in the other. So we're just comfortable with the ball. And they made Nashville have to stretch out a little bit just to go and get the ball. I thought that for the most part, Nashville was also good defensively, but you cannot be that naive and allow Wilber Cartagena to just walk into the front of the 18 and just take a shot. I mean, Cartagena gave you that soccer version of respect my jumper. Oh, you're not going to come out and try to put a hand in my face? I'm going to hit you with this 3. And that's what he did. He literally walked to the top of the 18, looked up, and gave you a banger. And there was nothing, absolutely nothing that Willis could do to get onto that ball. So I just believe that Orlando going into this matchup has a bigger tool set. They just have more ways to win the game. They have more players that can be difference makers rather than a Nashville squad that is always, they're well structured, they're disciplined, they're going to make it difficult. They have great leaders in that midfield with Godoy and even Dax McCarty at some point, Zimmerman and Shaq Moore and all of these players that have a lot of game experience and they can really handle games. But when it comes to talent, when it comes to being able to change the game at a moment, this Orlando team just has too much talent.
New England and Philly, and by all accounts, Clint P.A. has said that Carlos Gil is fine. After the nasty knock that he was given, I'm not going to say took, it was given by Philly, and no card, no nothing on the injury to Carlos Gil. And players basically, and Jason talked about it yesterday. Jason said it reminded him of the All Valley tournament in the Karate Kid movie where the Cobra Kai are cheering when Johnny Lawrence is taking out Daniel LaRusso. I mean, literally, you got the Cobra Kai SC. Here we go. You may as well call Philadelphia Cobra Kai SC for everything that they're doing. They injure Carlos Gil. He leaves. Philly gets match 1. What do you think about match 2 with the Revs and Cobra Kai?
Sweep the leg, huh? I think that you expect this from the Union, right? Especially in the game where if you're talking about talented players, especially in the final third, New England has the better players in that end, right? They got guys like Hill, like Chancalay that's been amazing. Gustavo Bo kind of feels like he's playing for a contract elsewhere or, whoever's watching this game. So he's been really good. But at the end of the day, it all goes back to having a team that believes the structure, that has been there, done that, some of that dark magic, some of those, things that you do to bring a game on your side. So because of that, I think the Union will take this series. Now, the Revolution showed me a lot of things when it came to this one. I think before that PK that VAR takes, New England was really pushing and they were finding spaces and they were driving the ball. I thought their movements in the final third found space behind Martinez. That's another guy that I feel like he's maybe lost a step. So with that said, and also Damian Lowe can be a liability. I think New England knew it, and they were right at that side between Harold and Lowe. They wanted to attack that end. They wanted to go with Chancalay. So I think that they could do some of these things here in the second game and make it a 3-game series. Then it could be anybody's game. But if I really had to make a choice, the Union, because of that foundation that has been so strong for the last decade, and a team that knows each other very well, and a midfield that I think has more ability to control this game, they're going to end up winning it. I'm just not. It's not that I'm not a fan. I just don't think that midfield for the New England Revolution with Kay and with Polster is built for a 3-game series. And that's the reason why I think the Union, despite their Cobra Kai ways, I think that they will end up taking this series.
All right, let's wrap up with the last one. And it ended up last night, match week 1, or match days 1, however you want to phrase it, with Atlanta and Columbus. Atlanta, you got to see how much Thiago Almada means to this group, and it came down to individual moments where you can't get beat in transition, and Cucho goes short side, makes it 1-0. Then you end up with a penalty in the box. He converts it. It's 2-0. You're out the door. But once again, we always remind folks the way that this current playoff structure is, it's a best of 3. You take that one, you wipe it away. You come back Tuesday night here in Atlanta for game number 2. What do you think about Atlanta and crew?
I was a little disappointed in Atlanta's inability to possess the ball a little more and create more opportunities. I knew that without Almada, Gonzalo was going to play a 3-man back line, but I didn't expect them to get so pushed back into their own third. They got pinned back by a Columbus squad that had no problems, even after the 1-0 score, leaving that back line really high, allowing Camacho to be a guy that can control the ball, that can push it, knowing and understanding that with the distributors they have in the midfield, they were able to control the tempo. And Atlanta just never got it back. And that was a huge problem. Now, I'm no Gonzalo Pineda, and I know that he knows this team better than anybody. And he, like I said, I've always said, he's a genius when it comes to it. But you tell me, how many times has Hernandez played as a center back in a 3-man formation this year for Atlanta? I can't recall how many times he's done it, but he looked out of sorts. He seemed out of position. He seemed to get too wide at times, too tucked in other times. That first goal with Cucho, there's no way that he has that much space before he takes that very first touch, and he takes you so long to go and try to get him back, try to recover from your positioning, because Cucho's just too strong and he is too talented. He's not going to need to cut back and use that right foot because he can shoot it with both. And maybe that's what the defender thought he was going to do, and he didn't. So I just thought positionally, very undisciplined from Atlanta. I'm not used to that. Maybe, like I said, not having Almada makes you think twice, makes you having to do a lot of things. I thought Mayomba, he also put himself in a really bad position, right? Matan had everybody in the defense with a big headache. Oops, sorry. With a big headache. And once you get the yellow card, then you're just playing a different ball game because you know that you don't want to get that second. I thought that the midfield just wasn't ever in this game, and that was the big problem.
And come back here on Tuesday night, and we'll go through match day 2. You get your starting lineup back. You're going to go back to your 4-3-3. Almada's going to be a part of the lineup, and it'll be the track meet will be interesting at Mercedes-Benz for match number 2. In match day 2,
you just got to force Columbus to defend. You can't have them be that comfortable. You need to put them in. You got to make them uncomfortable. They're going to be comfortable with the ball. They're going to be comfortable if you're deep in your own end, and if you don't push. And again, the fullbacks yesterday were also very ineffective in when they were getting the ball and how they were getting the ball. And when you don't got that width, and you're just allowing Columbus to play on your half, it's just a no-brainer. They're going to win that game. So with Thiago Almada, I expect this Atlanta team to be a lot more aggressive and make this Columbus team defend.
And, when you've also got, when you're in that 4-3-3, once again, I think it's a more comfortable thing. They've gone to 3 at the back a couple of times, and they've done the 5-3-2, 3-5-2, however you want to phrase it, but they seem to be more comfortable at home in that, 4-3-3, 2 center backs. You're looking at Brooks. It's Brooks and Miles and Luis Abram, who has been great this season.
Yes.
And this is the Cruz Azul Luis Abram that I think folks were looking for. And Caleb Wiley. For me, it will be interesting to see how a front-footed Atlanta United team will be in match day 2 here on Tuesday, and getting all of that swagger back that you're used to seeing with the push. And there's also nothing wrong with a tactical foul. There's nothing wrong with if somebody's blowing by you, to sit there and you grab them, you sit there, you spin them. It's a do-si-do. You get a foul, you get a card, fine, great, cool, but you've slowed the attack down. But
Hernandez, he's not usually the guy that he goes for in that back line of 3, is he?
No, it is. It depends on the speed of the team. It's either Hernandez or Purata, but Hernandez has been the one that, because of the athleticism shown by the clubs that they're facing, you need Ronald's speed to go back and forth. Purata can be that more static defender in 3 at the back. His get back is not matching Ronald's, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. I just thought he was out of position. The entire game, and he just looked uncomfortable. I also think that he had a lot to do with the way Columbus was playing and how far Aiden Morris was able to come in, the movement that Matan was making. I mean, if you saw Matan and Juan Camilo Cucho, the way they were shifting, and Juan Camilo was out wide, then he was pushing back in. There's that gorgeous ball from Cucho all the way to Gressel that should have been goal number 1, but Gressel finds it, and I have no idea why Gressel, instead of cutting inside and shooting on goal, he pushes out wide and allows the defender to get back to him.
Caleb Wiley took Julian Gressel's lunch money. Go ahead.
No, Gressel allowed him to get there. Gressel should have shot it or gone right on goal, but he pushes out wide. I thought that was a mistake on Gressel, but that movement, that ability from a guy like Cucho, and that's what I'm not kidding you, that Cucho Hernandez is the most talented forward in MLS. No one could make those sort of passes and still be that type of killer in front of goal and be able to move all around that front side. I mean, he's just so good. But I think that was the difficulties that Atlanta had, was just positioning. Also credit to Columbus because of the movement they had.
All right, so what's going on at Pulso Sports in the Soccer Bar, my friend?
All right, well, we'll be right back here in about 40 minutes. And Soccer Bar, we're going to be talking about a lot of this. We obviously have voices from all around the league. We're going to be talking to quite a few players from this game 1, this series of playoffs that I got to tell you, a lot of the Latino players are not very comfortable or happy with. They're trying to figure it out. We will also talk about Alan Velasco, what's going to happen. There's a media availability, I think, in a couple of hours. So it's going to be interesting what happens with Velasco and how things kind of play out for Dallas. But we'll talk about Dallas. We'll talk about Seattle. We'll talk about Houston. Can St. Louis come back and make this a 3-game series in Blue Hell? So it's going to be interesting when it comes to Pulso Sports. We talked to Brand Smetzer this week about how he handled everything. He didn't really pay too much attention to what Nico Esteves was complaining about the PK, about where Alex Roldan kind of threw in the ball. He kind of thought that was a game-changing moment, and it was. But I thought that the PK's there, I think his team kind of fell asleep on that throw-in, regardless of where Alex Roldan throws that ball in. So it was interesting to see Brian kind of respond to those comments. So if you want to check that out, check Pulso Sports.
All right. So finish your second cup of coffee, get your breakfast, and get ready for the Soccer Bar coming up top of the hour. As always, my friend, it's great to catch up with you on your Thursdays. We'll catch up with you after match days 2. We'll do it again next week.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
All right, that's Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar. He's finishing up that second cup of coffee. And now let's take the tour and get you all the news that's fit to print and what is on TV before we go. All right, what to watch? Since we've already done gossip, rumor, and innuendo, It is ACC Network tournament action on the women's side, 5:30 and 8. Same with the Big Ten Network on B1G at 5 and 7:30. Same with SEC Network, 6 and 8:30. Mississippi State, Arkansas, Georgia, and Texas A&M. ESPN Plus, very, very busy day. The Eredivisie with Ajax, the unfolding drama at Ajax. That's at 3 o'clock. Quadruple header with the Copa del Rey. Doubleheader at 2. Valencia is playing at 3. Alaves is playing Murcia at 4. Had a massive upset in the DFB Pokal yesterday, and Bayern is out. And that was a fantastic goal call as well. College women's action, multiple tournaments going on all day long. It is the SWAC, it is the MAC, it is the Horizon, it is the ASUN, it is the Valley, it is the American, it is the Patriot, and America East, and the Metro Atlantic Athletic, and the Big West, and the Ohio Valley. That's all on the women's side, all on the plus. Flow has Big East tournament at 4 and 6:30. Paramount Plus has the Brasileiro. Cuiabá Vasco da Gama at 4. Goiás and Bragantino at 5. Sao Paulo Cruzeiro at 7. Coppa Italia doubleheader. Sassuolo Spezia at 1. Torino Frosinone at 4 o'clock. Also, now, what's going on the planet before we get out of here when it comes to all of the news? Erik ten Hag continues to be on a hotter-than-hot seat. So we'll keep an eye on that. He's defiant after being blown out 3-0 by Newcastle at Old Trafford yesterday in the Gummy Bear Cup. He says, we're in a bad place. I take responsibility for it. I wonder if the clock is, in fact, ticking. In Africa, the head of African football says he wants to get the Mali FA president out of jail. Sounds like a bit of a conflict of interest to me. From The Guardian, Ed Aarons and Romain Molina. The president of CAF has said it is his duty to ensure the president of the Malian Football Federation is released from prison where he's being held after being accused of embezzling public funds and forgery. In comments that may contravene FIFA's code of ethics, Patrice Motsepe also said he and CAF were consistently engaging with authorities in Mali over how to get Mamadou Touré out of jail. Touré is a member of the FIFA Council. He remains in custody in Bamako after he was refused bail last week after an appeal by public prosecutors. Indicted about a month ago, 3 months ago. Get my month numbers figured out. August the 9th. By the Malian government and accused of embezzling a reported $28 million from the state purse during his time as financial administrative director in Mali's National Assembly. Touré has denied the allegations, was reelected president behind bars in September. Motsepe, who got his money in mining in South Africa, he's been CAF's president since 2021, spoke to journalists a couple of weeks ago in the Ivory Coast at the draw for AFCON. He says that was when he came up with the quote about consistently engaging and following the ethical and legal process to get him out of jail. Spokesperson from CAF says they respect the rule of law and the judicial processes in every African nation. FIFA's code of ethics says, quote, that in dealings with government institutions, national and international organizations, associations, and groupings, officials shall remain politically neutral in accordance with the principles and objectives of FIFA, the confederations, associations, leagues, and clubs, and generally act in a manner compatible with the function and integrity. Last September, Motsepe was criticized by alleged victims and FIFPro for publicly supporting the president of Gabon's federation by visiting him in prison. Pierre-Alain Mongengi is awaiting trial on charges of not reporting to Gabon's authorities alleged sexual abuse in the country by a number of coaches after allegations that were first made in The Guardian. No suggestion Mongengi is accused of abuse himself, and he hasn't commented on the charges. So, yes, Fourcard, it is business as usual in the CAF. Yesterday, Chelsea won, West Ham won, Saarbrücken beat Bayern Munich. That was the big news yesterday. 2-1 by third-tier Saarbrücken, second round of the German Cup, and it was done at the death. Great videos up on Men in Blazers if you haven't seen it. Mason Greenwood scored twice in Getafe's win over a sixth-tier club in the Copa del Rey. They won 12-0. So, you have those matchups occasionally. And so Newcastle won, Liverpool won, Chelsea won yesterday in the Gummy Bear Cup. Rangers and their match, they beat Dundee. Match was delayed by traffic and then suspended by following flares in the away end that set off the fire alarm. Nothing like hearing that the fire alarm's going off and you guys got to leave the building. So Rangers beat Dundee, but they set off the fire alarms in the process because of their flares. Fulham won. Muniz scores for the first time in a year and a half. So there was that. In the Telegraph, we'll go through and see if there's anything newsworthy. The worst home start in 93 years for Manchester United. And Sam Wallace, are you serious? Okay. From Sam Wallace at the Telegraph. England call up #United player for U17 World Cup. You probably should end on this one. On loan Chelsea Academy goalkeeper Ted Kurd makes history for the YouTube Phenomenon Club and will face Brazil and New Caledonia. #United have a player in the England World Cup squad. Chelsea Academy product on loan there. Selection marks another achievement for the club that began in 2016 with the chief aim of gathering an online audience. Since joining the football pyramid in 1819, they've won 3 promotions to the 7th tier. Generated significant social media following and all games made available on YouTube. 637,000 subscribers, 507,000 on Instagram. Published content from all aspects, managerial team talks and training sessions. #United. I'm not kidding. That's the name of the club. #UTD is the name of the club. So who are #United? Sam Wallace has an article up on The Guardian. So #United. I did not know they existed. But now that I do, and they've got a U17 player. Let me see if there's anything else going on. I know that there is, and I just need to write it down. But since we have gone an extra time, this was very, very World Cup of us today, where the guy on the board hung up a double-digit number. So thanks to Kaylor Hodges and the USL Show. Thanks to y'all for having the conversations that you guys had after what happened last night. We'll talk about more of it tomorrow. Friends from Beyond Goals, Weekend Whip Around, all the news of the morning, all of that stuff. Getting you ready for the weekend. Match day 2 for Atlanta United and Columbus is on Tuesday. Obviously, we'll be discussing that as we go and work our way through. Later today, do we have anything later today? No, we do not. But reminder, we caught up with Doug Irwin from Greenville Triumph. We caught up with Sean McDaniel, president and GM of the Chattanooga Red Wolves, to get kind of like postmortems and get you ready for the 24 season as quickly as possible. And also caught up with one of the new franchises in the NPSL, DMV Elite. And so we have those up on the network. Prem and Proper will be out tomorrow. NWSL championship preview and the USL League One preview will be up tomorrow as well. So Saturday because of the Sunday game. So the USL stuff will be ready. NWSL stuff will be up over the weekend to give you some stuff to listen to on the weekend. Prem and Proper will be up on Friday. And I think that's all I know. Thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. And thanks for being the great voices of the game that you guys always are. We'll play the expletive John Texter rant tomorrow in opening kickoff because it was definitely an expletive-laden rant, and he was mad. Don't have to look at the red card. But, yeah, dude was mad. He was fired up about it, and he let the sideline guy know. Thanks, Hutch. Thanks, Four Card. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. We'll be back at it again tomorrow since it's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. If I can find it in short order. We have to run the out of the show. Much obliged. I'll play it safe. We'll be back 9:05 tomorrow. Bye.